What's up everybody, I hope you're all good. Originally, this video was supposed to be one big video, but I decided to just split it into two parts because technical problems and stuff. So yeah, this is part 1, part 2 will be on the way soon, so enjoy. It wouldn't be a Nintendo channel without one of these types of videos, am I right? How are we today everybody, I hope you're all good. My name is Peter and for today's video, I'd like to talk about the characters I'd like to see appear in Wave 2 of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass. After the recent announcement that 6 new characters will be on the way after Byleth finished off Wave 1, speculation has once again taken the Smash Bros. Scene by storm, so I've decided that I'm going to jump on that bandwagon too. And seeing as Byleth has shown that first party Nintendo characters are possible, I have chosen 6 Nintendo characters, as well as 6 third party characters, with the hopes that 6 out of the 12 will show up. This video is a mix of predictions, as well as characters that I think would be ideal for Smash, but I know some of these ideas might be unrealistic, so if you have any characters that you'd like to see show up in Wave 2, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. With that being said, you know how these videos work. You've probably already seen dozens like this, so let's get into it. Let's start with the Nintendo characters. Personally, I had a really difficult time coming up with who to add, as I feel most characters that represent Nintendo's brand and legacy as a whole are already in the game, so my line of thinking leans more towards newer characters that represent Nintendo's current offerings, as well as what they may have in store for the future, with maybe a couple of exceptions to this rule. Rex. Back when the first Fighters Pass was announced, we got a Mii costume of Rex from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, who I thought was almost guaranteed to make it into the base roster. In the same announcement, Masahiro Sakurai stated that he wanted to include Rex in the base roster, but Xenoblade 2's announcement came after the roster was planned, unfortunately meaning that Rex couldn't get in. Now that Byleth, a character from a game that was released a year and a half after Xenoblade 2 has been added, I think this is no longer a problem for Rex. Sakurai himself clearly wants it to happen, as he has stated that he had played Xenoblade 2 in his spare time, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's already working on it. Rex would have a lot of move potential with Pyra by his side, and spoiler alert if you haven't played Xenoblade 2, but you could switch between Pyra and Mithra to give him a moveset with both fire and light based attacks while implementing the game's combat mechanics into Smash. And maybe like Ryu and Ken, he could have 2 different final smashes depending on whether Pyra or Mithra are being used at the time of activation. Having the choice between Burning Sword and Sacred Arrow based on the player's preference could add that layer of strategy that is faithful to the appeal behind switching between the two in their origin game. Urshifu. Firstly, I'd like to give a shout out to RogersBase's video on the characters that he's predicting for Wave 2, as this is where I got the idea of including Urshifu from the upcoming Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion on this list, and I pretty much agree with everything he says for his case on the matter. I recommend watching this video after this one for more details. In this video, Roger mentions how Urshifu's ability to change stances in the middle of combat would allow for a unique fighting style that we haven't seen in Smash before, which links back to why Sakurai chose Incineroar in order to have a character that fits the wrestling archetype. Besides, when it comes to adding new Pokemon into Smash, I'm kind of bored of seeing them just being starters, as Lucario was technically the most recent Pokemon added that doesn't fit that criteria, and that was way back in Brawl in 2008. In fact, leading up to Ultimate's release, I was hoping Mimikyu would get chosen to represent Sun and Moon, as we've never seen a Ghost Pokemon be playable, and I pretty much considered Mimikyu the face of the 7th generation. Pokemon's roster is so diverse, and seeing the next choice be another starter would throw away the potential and spotlight that several hundred other species could fulfill, and for that reason, I think Urshifu would be the ideal choice to break this cycle. Acura Howard. With Astral Chain exceeding Platinum Games' expectations sales-wise, and their desires to turn it into a trilogy, Nintendo may have found a lot of potential in this new IP. I know the game was developed by Platinum, but Nintendo were listed as the publishers for it, which is why I'm counting our next choice as a Nintendo character. The protagonist of Astral Chain doesn't really have a name, but whichever gender you don't choose to play as becomes your protagonist's sibling known as Akira, and I'm going to refer to the character as such because the closest to a canonical name we really have at this point is Captain Howard, and I think it would be rather lame to hear Xander Mobus shout that name anyway. No offense to anybody that goes by the name of Captain Howard, by the way. I've got 2 different ideas for how this moveset could work. One idea would be to go down the Pokemon Trainer route, where Akira stands in the background while commanding and switching between the 5 different legions with different fighting styles. The other idea would be to have Akira on the battlefield with the legion at their side. This might be one of the more complex movesets we've seen in Smash yet, but it will be interesting to see if it works. Even then, I think Astral Chain nicely symbolises the relationship between Platinum and Nintendo, as well as what they're capable of when working together, so why not emphasise that by giving them a slot? Wonder Red. Speaking of Platinum games and Nintendo's blossoming relationship, let's talk about the other original Platinum IP published by Nintendo on their previous console, the wonderful 101 of course. An underrated gem that showed the potential the Wii U could have had doesn't deserve to fade into obscurity, and by adding its protagonist, Will Wedgwood, aka Wonder Red, into Smash, we could see a truly unique style of play with the different Unite morphs that take the forms of powerful, oversized weapons. The game style that takes inspiration from superhero comics would also add some flair to the already diverse roster, and with Platinum's recent Kickstarter to put the wonderful 101 on other platforms beyond the Wii U being an overnight success, now is the perfect time to show it some love in gaming's biggest crossover. Silence. One of the Switch's most anticipated games is by far Metroid Prime 4. I mean, we've literally seen nothing of it yet, but confirmation of its existence alone was enough to cause an earthquake within the Nintendo community. With that being said, there's quite a lot of evidence indicating that the character Silux, who first appeared in Metroid Prime Hunters for the DS, will play an important role in the game due to his appearances in the endings for both Metroid Prime 3 Corruption and Metroid Prime Federation Force. Due to these hints, how about throwing him into Smash to solidify Metroid Prime 4's importance, as well as reinforce the narrative that the Metroid series is seeing its big comeback? This would make Silux the third newcomer from the Metroid series to be added in one Smash game at a time, on top of Ridley and Dark Samus, which I think would be incredible to see since we've only had Samus and her Zero Suit form prior to Ultimate. Professor Egad. The last pick for a Nintendo character is the least likely one I've chosen in my opinion, and I had a hard time thinking of who could really represent Nintendo's present as a whole, but with the recent success of Luigi's Mansion 3, both critically and commercially, I think it's about time that everyone's favourite babyface mad scientist deserves the spotlight, seeing as Nintendo won't put him in Mario Kart anytime soon. I'm of course referring to the one and only Professor Elvin Gadd. The reason why I feel he belongs as a Nintendo icon is because Luigi's Mansion 3's recent success, as well as Dark Moon's decent sales, has solidified the Luigi's Mansion series as one of Nintendo's heavy-hitting franchises going forward, and besides Luigi himself, I think Egad should be considered the face of these ghost hunting adventures that have reached new heights in recent years. My reasoning for this choice is because I think he could have a similar impact to Isabelle, who was only really introduced in Animal Crossing New Leaf, but made such a strong impression that she might as well replace Villager as Animal Crossing's mascot at this point, and her addition to Ultimate's base roster was all but inevitable. Not that Egad is inevitable or anything, but I consider him such a central character in one of the Mario universe's most iconic spin-offs. Besides these reasons, I think Egad would cause all sorts of mayhem on the battlefield, with all his different inventions ranging from Gooigi to the various Poltergust models, and the Hydra Gush machine we see in Mario and Luigi Partners in Time could make for an amazing final smash. Anyway, that just about does it for part 1, I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what first and second party Nintendo characters you'd like to see in Wave 2 going forward. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Peter Gargan channel as part 2 will be coming soon, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, see you later.